And we're live.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another scene set in Despot Dark Crusade Season 2. On this very, very fine evening, we set the scene perhaps a few hours after the prince's meeting with Garnet. So it's a fair ways into the evening at this point. Probably hitting midnight, maybe just before. And a certain noble and glorious gentleman has set off to meet the prince and pay the hospitality and announce himself proper to the domain as, while one may be known by K-Knights within, you're not truly a part of the domain until the prince themselves meets you. The prince, of course, resides only in the most luxurious of residences, that being the palace. So it's taken a couple nights to set everything up, as communication is slow in the Dark Ages, and gain access to such a prestigious location isn't always easily accomplished. But a time and date has been given, and that is where Solution finds himself heading on this particular evening. As he head on up, you just want to tell me your noble influence real quick, or just put it in chat if you don't want to say it out loud and see. Nice. You head on up. Your face is very much a new one, but with it comes a significant element of prestige. A level of respect. As you head on up to the palace, the gates are closed, but the guards come to you and they pay you a great deal of respect. Perhaps your presence has been notified by the families that you are tied to, and they very politely ask what your business, what such an honourable gentleman is doing at this particular hour. If anything is required of them.
The individual
to help to assuage.
The individual will stand from his horse, so he will dismount. He will twist the reins in his hands, and he will say, what was the name of the prince again? Their actual mundane name?
Oh yeah, I should roll, I'll set us some dice roll real quick. I need to roll something here. Oh man, everyone's meeting all the wrong guards. The prince really needs to start informing people about who they should go talk to. The prince's name is Chimera.
The man will say, I have an engagement with Chimera this evening. I would very much appreciate if you would see to my horse whilst I am inside, Monseigneur.
Guards look to each other as if there's some sort of vague recognition. One kind of points to the other, they're like just putting two and two together. Or if they're kind of putting two and two together, it's like there's some sort of it's almost like they're sorting out some sort of misunderstanding or miscommunication. And then just one just kind of nods to the other and just says, "I want to go get a captain, mate." And leaving you with one palace guard. And you will just say, my apologies, sir. We're just going to fetch someone who might be much more equipped to deal with the situation than ourselves."
By all means, Monseigneur. I have all evening.
He will take this as a sign of forgiveness. And yep, we'll simply wait a few minutes. He won't really say that much. You're a little bit intimidating. Maybe it's because of your connections. That makes him a little bit timid. He tries very hard to seem like, look at me, I'm a sentry. Look at how good of a sentry I am.
If it helps, Senpai will notice him. Just for the record, Lucian will have brought with him just a single attendant who has just a bag in their, has a large item covered in cloth in their hands.
Yep, that's fine. Doesn't really draw any. Your attendant doesn't really draw any attention. They seem to be kind of, again, as someone of your connections, you would be expected to have an attendant, surely. So, yeah. Eventually, a man who seems to be of more prestigious station, his armor is of high quality. All the palace guard are very well equipped. This man would be wearing armor comparable to your finest, which would be quite significant. You know, class 5 armor, so knight's armor. This guy is really heavily decked out. He's wearing some wicked plate metal armor. No helmet. Got a broadsword around his waist, but he doesn't have his hand on it or anything. He looks at you. There's this immediate look of, oh, it's not even recognition. It's, all right, yeah, on his face. And just says to the other two guys, "All right, you two, get out of here." They scurry off.
Before they leave, while they are clearly still in earshot, he will say, "I must compliment you, mein Capitan, on the excellence of your sentries. They are truly exemplary." And he seems to be entirely genuine.
The compliments are appreciated. The Palace Watch employ only the finest. But I believe I'm aware of why you're here.
Oh, boom. I'm pleased to hear it.
There's a look on his face as if there's something that's being missed. It's a bit of an odd reaction to you. It's not. It's almost like he's thinking about something that makes him feel a little bit awkward. But he seems much more talkative to you than the other guards, so it's a bit. Or he looks. It's a bit off cue of how he's acting.
I do hope that I have not done something to offer you offense, mon Capitan.
Oh no, on the contrary, it's a completely separate matter that I believe we'll need addressing later, but it's nothing to do with yourself. Nothing, of course. No need to be concerned at all.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
yes, I believe.
No, he will. He was just saying, "Oh, absolutely, that's fine."
Okay. In which case, I believe I should take you to your host. So, if you follow me, and I
Absolutely.
shall take you to the. Take you to the one who leads the city. He's fairly careful with his words because there are still action monsters around.
He will gesture as they start walking off for valet to follow him. It's like,
Yep, the guard actually acknowledges the valet. The man himself, I should say, he's to give him a description, he's wearing he's fairly well built. It's a little hard to see underneath the armor because the armor is cast-iron armor. It's very thick, but you can tell, like, considering his size, he's very well built. That seemingly native to the region. Looks like he's in his late 30s, maybe early 40s. Got a bit of a big, kind of a grizzled veteran's beard. Has a few marks from his time in combat, but nothing too significant. Nothing that's really marred his appearance significantly. Just kind of almost like kind of scars of pride in a way.
he will, Lucian will walk behind him. Lucian's actually not that physically imposing. He's only about 5'8" maybe, and he's quite slimly built. Like he does not look nearly as imposing as he is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. This guy's probably about this man's probably is about the same height as you. He has a bit of a thicker, broader build.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're taken into the palace properly. First, the courtyard itself is basically one giant garden from the front to the back of the palace, basically encircles the palace. There is kind of a small, dusty kind of roadway off to the side that lead to the barracks and the stables. Kind of way off. They're connected to the walls, so just to kind of not only for the sake of ease of deployment, but also so that it doesn't really impact the appearance of the courtyard of the garden itself. It's very easily ignored. It serves a dual purpose. As you walk through the gardens, however, straight into the palace, it's initially a fairly broad hallway with many arches that lead into a much larger grand circular hall of many of an inner circle of pillars. The walls themselves are tiled with very beautiful floor patterns, a large stone balcony overlooks you from several stories up, about 4 or 5, and the ceiling is well tiled. Very, very beautiful, very, very extravagant.
Lucian will take pains. He will stop and he will admire everything that would be considered beautiful. Kind of, giving little kind of making little comments or nodding his head approvingly. He's a person who clearly likes. He's a person who likes beautiful things and beautiful objects. So he will, but he won't tarry like terrifically long. But he'll just stop, note them, and kind of make little approving comments as they walk.
Yeah, as you head on down, once you reach the grand hall, there's a lot of different doors, a lot of different kind of hallways that lead off in different directions. This guardsman or soldier, knight, probably closer to a knight, really, at least in terms of how well equipped they are. If not a very prestigious soldier. It guides you into a hallway. One of the hallways to the left. You end up kind of zigzagging a little bit before reaching your destination. You go up a floor, and then you reach something what appears to be, it's a fairly large room. Appears to be some sort of the quarters of what would be maybe a diplomatic figure or some sort of privy council figure. It's far less extravagant than the rest of the palace. It's quite formalized. Shelves are largely stacked with documents and different scrolls, some with books, but actually fairly light on books. There are some though. Moonlight kind of beams on in from the window at the end of the room where there's a very large ornate desk. Probably the only thing of that kind of overt prestige in the room. And then there's a small archway, fairly large archway that leads into a smaller room off to the side, which appears to be where those in the employ of this advisory figure or seneschal or diplomat would be. Lots of less ornate desks. Still look quite nice, but not of the same quality. And there's much more documentation in there as well. A lot of shelves. In fact, that seems to be where a lot of it is. A lot of it is filed. Is it a quote filed, as it were? There's about 3 or 4 desks in that room. Mm-hmm. So less space, less extravagance. But drawing back towards the ornate desk, there is actually someone sitting behind it. Fairly petite woman. Smaller than yourself, slender build. Looks native to the area. Kind of fairly long, flowing hair, a little bit unkempt actually. Her shirt appears to almost. It's a short sleeve shirt actually. It's very like silken white with this kind of golden embroidery sewn into it. And the trouser, the leggings are actually quite practical, almost in contrast to the shirt, which appears to have had the sleeves cut off. Actually, looks like this may have almost been this shirt may have been something completely different at one point. It appears to have been trimmed down pretty significantly. And on the other side is this woman. The guardsman just says, "I'll introduce you to the prince. If you just wait here one moment, please." And as long as Solution has no objections to this.
Oh, he will quite happily wait.
Yeah, guard will head on over, talk with the supposed prince. They seem to exchange words. It's strange. It's almost business as usual between them. They kind of address this whole issue fairly casually, and then Prince makes a gesture, not towards you, but to the guard. Again, fairly casual. Guard makes his way back. By all means, sir, and I'll be ready to escort you out once your business is concluded. Have a pleasant evening.
Oh, absolument. My apologies, Captain. I did not get your name.
That's because I didn't give him one, Evan. Now I have to think of one for him. Well, at least you hold me to a standard. I appreciate this. I'm known in the Mortorum as Tarek, but you may simply call me Tarek.
Absolument. He will press a handful of coins in Sir Tarek's hand, and he will say, "Please do see to a fine cask of wine for your soldiers as my gift to them." No?
Of course, it would be my pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, think nothing of it. I often find that when people do a good job, they should be rewarded.
You want to know some real life history, which is pretty funny.
Beg your pardon?
You want to know some real life history? It's pretty funny.
Okay.
Alcohol's illegal in this part of the world at this time.
We're under Sharia law, but I guess is it one of those?
It's still used a lot.
I was going to say, is it one of those? It's illegal, but no one follows the law.
It's kind of in most noble gatherings under some sort of pseudonym. Like a lot of taverns deal in alcohol, kind of like almost prohibition era sort of gig, where it's like, they had a specific name for them as well.
Excellent.
But you can prohibit alcohol, but that's not going to stop anyone from drinking alcohol.
I come from France. I'm pretty sure we drink wine with our mother's milk. This is alien to me.
As a Frenchman, you'd be like, man, these people must be so sad.
But he will still push the coin into the hand, and he will then step into the room proper, and he will give a proper bow, like a deep, formal, courtly bow, and wait to be acknowledged before he rises up.
Solution de Chambron.
Oui, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Your Highness.
And a pleasure to meet you, finally. Basically, call me Camiro, whatever suits you best. There is no need to stand on formality with me.
Oh, absolutely. It is I must say, it is most agreeable to once again set foot in beautiful Edessa. It has been too long. The plague far too ravaged the city.
Yes. Also, if I may ask briefly, when were you in Edessa last? Because it may give you information on the city's history.
Blah, 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 blah. He was definitely here when it was conquered, because he took part in the conquest.
Okay.
By Richard. He actually fought in the battle at the siege of Edessa.
There are several of those. Which bit are we talking about in particular?
Probably the first one. He joined Richard's crusade relatively close to the start of it because, and I quote from my backstory, his sire sent him in order to make sure that this wasn't some goddamn Ventrue plot. So realistically, it's probably been a couple of years, like a year or two since he was back. He spent quite a lot of time in the Holy Land and kind of mooching around, probably, northern Egypt, northern Saudi Arabia. Moochie. Unlike a lot of kindred, he likes to travel.
So.
But sorry, does that answer your question?
Yeah, you got it in 1099. So you'd be one important thing you'd be aware of is The city there was a strange mystery regarding the city. It's never been resolved in about 100 years prior to this day, or just over 100 years. Pretty much all of the Canaanites of the city vanished. It was considered extremely troubling, but it never spread beyond Odessa itself. Other than that, though, nothing of particular importance. Anyways, back to the prince.
Is there a seat that Lucien can sit in?
Oh yeah, the prince was just going to offer him a seat, so she says, "By all means, take a seat."
I am pleased to. He will kind of motion with his finger for Felipe, who is his little attendant. Felipe will step forward. He will take the covered object in his hands, and he will walk forward and he will say, "A minor token of my esteem and my humble gift to the new regime, as it were," he will say as he places the item on the table.
What is the particular item, sir?
It is. He will move the cloth aside, and it is a beautiful, beautifully artistic and incredibly lovely handmade and illustrated copy of the Quran that would probably be estimated to be a few hundred years old even at this point.
Oh, very old then. Yeah, it'd be. Yep, but definitely one of the earlier ones. The prince kind of takes the book fairly lightly. Like her fingers kind of handle the spine and then also handle the other side of the cover, and she'll simply take a moment to sort of study it. Well, there's a slight smile on her face. I'd say a tinge of a smile. She looks a little bit more contented than she was before. That very much is clear. She's not really hiding it. She'll even open the book and gaze upon a few of the pages before looking back up at you and say, "You are most charitable, Sir Lucian. I thank you for this most gracious gift."
"Oh, it is not charity at all, I would not presume. It is merely an offering of," he will contemplate his next words, "goodwill and the hope for a long reign."
Oh. The gesture is most appreciated, thank you.
He will sit back in his chair, kind of getting relatively comfortable, before he will say, "No, I shall admit that I returned to an Odessa that is grievously changed since the last time I set foot here. So many lights that were once burning when one looked out upon the city from the mountain are now so silent, dead, and cold."
This city has sadly had its fair share of troubles throughout the past 60 years. I regret to say, under the former princedom, many transgressions were allowed to go unchecked that I wish to rectify and aid in restoring the city to its former glory, much how the prince a century ago once did.
Indeed.
You would know the prince a century ago was initially only the Baron. He was called Baron Ulrich. He was a Sombra neonate. Was a barony to Nosferatu Methuselah in Jerusalem before having the city turned over to the Dream and effectively becoming a vassal state of the Dream. And when this neonate the Sombra becoming a prince proper a few years later, before exchanging the city to a Cappadocian elder when the city was conquered, and there were many issues, a war, well, literally a war between Cainites that resulted in this Sombra handing the city over so that it would not come to further harm.
Are you aware of a rather interesting individual? I assume you must be. My apologies. I believe Cappadocian gentleman who calls himself Adam. Because he didn't actually introduce himself to me as the Merchant of Bones.
Adam. Oh, see, I can't entirely recall if he actually gave that name to the prince.
He wears a plague doctor's mask.
Ah, yes. Yes, he has several names. The Merchant of Bones appears to be one of his more popular aliases.
I shall be honest with you in that case, as I sense you are someone who has the best interests of the city very close to your heart. He asked me if I was affiliated with another individual based on my lineage as a Brujah, who had come to the city preaching about rebellion, and if I myself possessed such inclinations.
There's she lightly bites the corner of her lip and seems lightly entertained by the statement and the implications involved.
He will casually. He's clearly amused as he will cross his legs, and he will say, "I said, and I reaffirm, that Clan Brujah stand with the people. As long as the people are well treated, the Brujah are content." This is the matter that I wish to discuss with you.
Sorry, I lagged out for most of that. Apologize.
I said that he kind of got comfortable. He crossed his legs, and he said that the Brujah are always loyal to those who have the interests of the people at heart. And then he said, "That is the topic which I wish to discuss with you."
Interesting. Well, of that I am most certain. After all,
I am led to understand that there is a large section of the city proper where honest men now fear to tread, called Riverside. Oui?
Did you hear me just earlier?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, did you just interrupt the prince?
Oh no, I think
no, that's fine. That's fine. She'll let you continue in any case because what you have to say is more relevant here. There are several areas, unfortunately, that have become riddled with crime ever since the plague. Namely, the poorer areas of the city. In particular, Riverside. It has always been a troubled area, particularly to traverse even for ourselves. Some of us have made our homes there, and the Scourge has claimed the top half of it.
If one may ask, whom is the Scourge?
A Ravnos known as Nirav. Very capable. Dealt with several domain breaches before I joined the city proper. Was the Scourge before I was Prince here. In honor of his service, I permitted him to remain as Scourge. Dealt with a particularly vile Nosferatu who openly threatened the court. Went so far as to threaten Diablerie.
He will shake his head and he will say, one moment. Seek not the blood of thine elder, seek not the blood of thine sires, seek not the blood of thine kin, for thou wilt feed the funeral pyre when thou dost pay thy mortal sin.
Indeed.
I was led to understand that there are indeed rumblings and issues as it pertains things like Unters, and I even hear talk of infernalism. It is most unpleasant.
In fact, I should feel inclined to warn you, a particular infamous infernalist known as Mary has been witnessed entering the city. This was before my tenure here. She has been notoriously difficult to track. One of the former princes of this domain, Ulrich, now Prince of Timurin, originally came here seeking her. He was chasing her for some reason. He held her responsible for many crimes within the great city of Constantinople.
I was led to understand that having this cancer, this riverside and these poor areas where the people have become desperate, where they cry out, these are the breeding grounds from which dark forces gather, be they hunters or those who turn themselves to darker powers still in order to subsist and live. They who breathe a dark blood, they who scent a darker breath. It is simply the case that squalor, darkness, and ignorance breed these elements. I have spoken with some of my clanmates and wish to make a formal request of you, Your Highness.
A bold statement, considering this is our first meeting, but by all means.
As I have said, the Clan Bruja are unfailing in our loyalty to those who truly care for the people. It is relatively simple. I was led to understand that now is the time when it is people must submit themselves to you in order to ascertain domain, etc. We would like to put forward ourselves for the maintaining and indeed the restoration of at least what of Riverside is not been claimed by the Scourge. I will happily make some kind of roll if you'd like to make him sound persuasive.
Mainly perception, empathy.
Perception, empathy? Ooh, I can do that. That is...
This won't just count for what you spot now. Also count for a few things that will be spotted immediately after if you roll well for it. She's not hiding this particular thing, so I won't roll against you.
Okay. Cool. You know what? Because this is important, I'm going to spend the proverbial willpower.
Nice. Okay, so you get 3 successes. 3 successes are pretty good.
Mhm.
There is a there's a measure of doubt there. You're not sure if it's in you or the clan or the claim or if it's in something else. But there's definitely it's almost a look of holds her fingers and rests her chin on them. Looks to the ground very deep in thought for a moment.
He will say, ultimately, the endeavor is such. He will kind of raise his hands to kind of put them on either side, as if he's weighing a scale. He will say, ultimately, Your Highness, Clan Bruja can succeed in this task, in which case a thorn, a cancer, has been removed from your city, which means that from this place there will be no more desperation. The chances of other individuals being disgorged from there to do harm decreases. Trade will increase. The happiness of the kind will increase. There will be a general state of prosperity should we succeed. He will put out his other hand. And should we fail, there will be a handful of kindred who have either lost favor or lost their lives. But in doing so, they will have died for the cause that they truly believe in. The betterment of those who they believe should be brought to stand on their feet rather than kneeling in the dust. In the end, you lose nothing.
I'll temper her reaction a bit because that was a very compelling statement. She studies you. There's still a look of concern though, but she does hear you out. She unsteeples her hands, places them fairly gently on the desk. I give the same warning I have given to all others who have wished to claim the name. That if any individual, coterie, or clan wishes to claim the domain, they are expected to be responsible for it, to maintain it, and to uphold it. Not just for the future, but I would need assurances if you wish to claim such a large domain as... And I should clarify, is this on behalf of the clan? You have given me an impression that this is not just for yourself, and that I understand, but is this for the clan as a whole or for a subset of individuals within the clan? Before I go any further.
A subset of individuals within the clan would be more correct.
I see. Who would these other individuals be?
There's myself. Of course. Evan now has to desperately remember the name of Tim's character.
Monica Cortez.
You're better at this than I am. Miss Monica Cortez, a neonate also of Clan Bruja. And you know what? Because Brood should still fucking count, he will throw out the name of his own kid. And of course, my daughter, Isabella de Chambon. For the time being, I will provide more names should they be required. And I am more than happy to provide you proof of our ability to not area efficiently should proof be required. For the record, I'll emphasize, he definitely doesn't seem like a man who is joking. He seems to be entirely confident in his abilities / these people's abilities to do the thing.
Oh, yeah. She takes a moment for again. Like you, she seems to be considering the situation quite carefully. It's a noticeable shift from her fairly down-to-earth demeanor with you before.
Mhm.
It's interesting, actually. The only other clan that has desired a domain as a group, strangely, were the Setites.
There is a very obvious eye narrow of displeasure. Squinty eyes.
She seems to note this as a coincidence. It's like something that almost like she finds really interesting for a moment before moving on to the actual topic at hand.
Mhm.
I very much trust your sincerity in this matter. Of that, I would be personally offended if anyone to doubt it. But I would request you take a few nights to settle in and with your compatriots provide a measure of assurance that this domain can be held and maintained. Prior to my role here and during the transition, there were several who came into the domain without paying the hospitality, intruded on the domains of others, but those whose domains they intruded upon possess the, shall we say, prerequisite connections to discover this. It was actually discovered by those outside of her own domain. I do not wish for you to meet the same fate or for your reputation to be tarnished in such a way. I am aware of your sire and I very much trust your sincerity.
As I've said, Your Highness, he will once again, he will put his hands on the table and he will say, 3 individuals, admittedly embraced in the blood of Cain, cannot hold so large a domain. It is impossible. However, 3 individuals with whom the people place their faith, who bring them out of darkness, who open shops where the shops are closed, who beat back themselves to beat back those who oppress them, who take from them, who rape them and who rob them. In those 3 individuals, they may light a fire, but the people will be the ones to blaze brightly as a new inferno, a light in the darkness. Brujah logic. However,
Then,
oh, sorry, continue.
if I may, if this you can prove to me, then that domain I would gladly bequeath to you and your compatriots.
He will lean back in his chair and he will say, oh, sorry, continue.
The Scourge was gifted such a large domain Because as you say, for a single Khaimite to maintain such a large domain by themselves is untenable. But with the people at their side, it would not only become attainable, but trivial. So I will say this: if you can show to me that the people have placed their faith in you in Riverside, and in Monica, and in Isabella, then I would be more than happy to bestow that domain to yourself and your compatriots. But I must ask that such a statement be proven to me for certain, for it is the only reason I gifted such large domains to my Seraph and Scourge, and it would not be fair to them who put in such immense efforts and overcame such great trials if I were to gift a domain of such size based on your statement, no matter how sincere or accurate it may be, it would not be fair to them.
Oh, but of course, we are the Bruja. We are a clan of action. We will reward your faith in giving us the opportunity with action.
Then might I give you some parting aid in return for the lovely gift that you'd also bestowed to me? The nobility of this city have seen the state of crime, and they have grown impatient. The areas that were so damaged by the plague and by these criminal elements were due for a significant infrastructure project to restore it to a state that it might be respectable once more, that those who reside there could feel both safe and happy. However, those that have attempted to engage in this project, the guilds,